All right. We started chapter 6, the last episode. Chapter 6 is called Seeking Love. This is was episode 23. This is episode 24. And the reason there's no music on this one because this one starts off on a sour note, on a sad note. Starts off with the passing of someone I cared very much about. He was sort of like a brother to me. He was more than just a cousin. He still got some storyline. Still got some parts of the story left in my in our story here. But the reason I'm covering his passing now is because of the poem I'm fixing to read to you. This poem, we were having a sleepover one night, and I was on the bed, and he was on the. He had a pallet. He had a pallet made on the floor, and we were talking about poems and stuff. And he was talking about a poem that he wrote called D.I.E. And he lost the poem. He don't know what happened to it. So we decided to call this poem D.I.E. Part 2, and the other poem will remain an anonymous lost poem. It is the lost poem that he wanted to reinvent. So we sort of reinvented it together. And I don't think either one of us would ever conceived that this could be a premonition of what was to come 20 years later after writing this poem. This poem was written back in 1992, and he passed about that year, 2022. It's a hard poem to cover. Like I said, he was my go-to. He was my friend, and he was like the brother I never had. And we hung out a lot together. And when we got older, of course, everybody went their own directions. He went his, and I went mine. And we kind of drifted apart until Facebook came about, and I was able to reconnect on Facebook with everybody. I got most of my family on Facebook. I've got most of my extended family on Facebook where I can keep up with everybody. So they say people say, well, Facebook's that's just a social network. Everybody, they don't give a shit about you. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I give a shit about some people on there. I've got 906 friends, and about 400 to 500 of them I have close ties to. A good chunk of them are friends. A good chunk of them are friends of my wife Rhea. Are friends we met along the way. Friends I've met at work, and it's a good way to keep up with people. And I hope it continues that way. Because if we lose this network, then I have to find another way to reconnect and recontact everybody and keep in touch with them. But for now, Facebook is still going strong, and I'm able to keep up with everybody. And my aunt, I was at work one day. My aunt called and told me he was having some issues with his bladder. He had alcohol poisoning, and it tore up his liver, and he was starting to fade. And I was hoping to get down there before he passed on, but it was in the middle of the week, and I was trying to hold off. I was hoping to hold off till Saturday so I can get down there and see him before he passed on, but I didn't make it down there. But I did get up and speak at the funeral, and I read this and explained how this poem originated, and how it came about. And I was actually a pallbearer with some of the other hosts.
I was too, I think.
Yeah, I think he was as well. We put my cousin to rest beside his grandmother, who will pass away later on in my storyline here. Like I said, the reason I'm covering this now because this is where I'm at in this.
Also pulled over Grandpa as well.
Yeah, but this is the reason I'm covering it now is because this is where I'm at in my poems. This is the poem we wrote together. We started off. I would say one line, and he would do the next line. Then he would do one line of the poem. Then I would do the next line of the poem, the next stanza. And we went back and forth like that. We wrote this poem together. And we kept part 2 in the title in honor of the lost poem, the poem he lost, D.I.E. D.I.E., roughly translated, is disintegrate into eternity. And basically, that's what we do. When we die, we disintegrate back into eternity. And we'll all be there one day, but his day came way too early. He's only 47. And of course, we are talking about my cousin Greg. The very same one who used to give fireworks displays to grandmother. The very same one we used to drive around do friendly driving with. The very same one I used to go hanging out the malls with and playing putt-putt golf with. So, this is a poem. This is in honor of him. I did cry. I didn't cry in public. I had to be strong. But I did cry. Went to the bathroom. Closed the door, bellowed out, had my breakdown, had my moment. And then we went to the funeral and buried him beside his grandmother. D.I.E. Part 2. Disintegrate into eternity. As we stood on the mountaintop, me on one side, my cousin on the other, I looked over at him, because we were like brothers. In amazement, as I gazed, he began slowly to fade away. Stunned, I hastily made my way over. He had vanished into thin air. As I looked around to see where he had gone, I saw a message written with small stones. The message was short but understood well. Don't worry, cuz I'm not in hell. As I look out through the sun's rays, as tears stream down my face, I reply aloud, at least now you're in a better place, in utopia, a world of grace. And that was an ode to my cousin. After I read the poem at the funeral, Uncle Punch and Aunt Deb wanted to have a copy of it, so I made a copy of it for them. Marcia and wanted a copy. Cousin Chad wanted a copy of it, so I made 3 copies for them. And I don't know what they did with them. They probably got them in their scrapbooks, or they probably framed it, put it on the wall as a picture in a glass frame. But anyway, they have copies of that poem that me and Greg wrote together, and I'm pretty sure they hold it dear, about as dear to their heart as I hold it dear to mine. Like I said, that was a tough loss. My grandmother was tough when it comes to that point where I read in that part of my part of the storyline here. Losing her was tough. Losing him was rough. That was a rough one.
It happens though.
It happens.
It's sad when it happens, but
It's sad. It's sad because he had such a he had his own band going. He had a family. He had kids that loved him. Had a wife that adored him. His band members cherished.
Someone needed him more than they did.
Yeah, his band cherished him. I guess sometimes life hits you in the. Sometimes life hits you in the gut, and you gotta.
Mexican.
And then you got to just find a way to move forward. And that was a strong gut punch. Well, we're going to move on now, so we can get through that part of it. But we had to cover that part of it, and had to explain that rendition, and then cover the passing of my cousin, my friend, my brother. And we're going to move on in my story. Of course, this is another poem that was in the paper. It was published in the paper.
Should I start the music soon?
Yeah, you can go start the music now. Put the music back on. The reason I did the music off because this was
show respect.
To show respect. That was
To the fallen.
to the fallen, to the passing. That was needed a moment of silence to get through that part of it without the
epic jams.
the sidetrack. This poem is like a Halloween poem. I based it off the bayou where I was pretty much raised. David, Jeff, Gay, Renee, Uncle Doyle. We used to help out on the farm and stuff. Me and Dave used to play with the trucks and stuff and the dirt. And then when we were playing with the trucks and stuff in the dirt, we were going out with his dad. Help out with the cotton fields and the bean fields, and we'd spend time in the like I said, I covered this before. We'd spend time in the baler packing stuff down as after they dumped cotton and beans into it. I almost got buried once in a cotton baler.
Oh yeah, didn't your uncle pull you out or something?
Yeah, my cousin did. Jeff pulled me out.
Yeah, what are you doing, idiot?
Well, I was dumping cotton in there, and then I was stomping the cotton down, and I stumbled back into the corner, and the cotton was just coming down on top of him, and he just reached down through the cotton and grabbed me and yanked me back up. I almost became a pair of jeans. That'd been scary.
Stephen James.
Wear me around like
It sounds like a name.
Wear me around on the butt of your pants. Hey, that's where my cousin used to be at. Huh?
Stephen Jeans sounds like a
Steve's jeans. Anyway, yeah, my other cousin Renee, she used to. Amy talked to her one time, just bring me inside the door there and just kiss me all over my face and kiss me in my mouth. Thought it was cute. And David and Jeff rolling out on the floor on the ground out there, laughing their butts off. There was a lot of fun stuff on the bayou. Peanut and Judy, I met them out there. I met them a few years later when I was 15, 16, and spent some time at Grandpa Charlie's house, hanging out. But, they ran over a snake once with a tractor. Ran over and got the big old giant, those big tires on top of this water moccasin, and then held the brake down and pushed the gas down and spun that snake. And the snake was just a
it was a puddle.
It was a bloody mass. It was nothing but a bloody mass. That's all was left of it. But they had little get-togethers, little parties. And I tell you what, yeah, these parties the food was just, oh my God, delicious. Potato salad, baked beans.
Well, that's Southern habitat.
And crawdads.
Crawdads are good.
They had this little big pot on fire, and they had this crawdads inside this big old giant pot. And they roasted that sumbitch all freaking day long. And, well, if you ain't never had crawdad, you're missing out. You take that sucker out, you pull the tail off, yank the meat out of there.
That'll respect the meat out.
You can't eat just one. You can't. You can't eat just one. You have to have about 10, 20, 30, 40 of those some bitches.
They taste pretty good.
They are. They were good, and they of course my dad.
Is that too the big juicy ones?
Yeah, the uncles had their beer and their crawdad, their baked beans, their potato salad,
Burgers, hot dogs,
your little honey rolls,
bunny hot dogs,
your
burger
roast,
hot dog,
your
hot
roasted
dogs.
ham, your hot dogs, your hamburgers. They threw a party. They threw some food out there. My grandpa Charlie he did the same thing.
Of course, there's fruits there too.
We had little family reunions, and I had a whole table full of food. And there's one incident where we had a family reunion with with Grandpa Charlie and Amy. she literally tossed her salad. I'll explain this about why she tossed her salad.
It wasn't like a scary movie.
There was a movie called Critters.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, and there was a barn scene in the movie Critters where the girl and the guy were making out on the side, and they had the radio set up here on the top of the hay bale, and the radio kept going in and out, and the guy reaches up on the hay bale to see what's going on with the radio, and as soon as he does, a critter on the hand. Well, Amy, in the meantime, was watching them making out in this barn. Which is watching and watching. She had we was having spaghetti and salad, and she had her fork and her spoon inside her salad, and she was like, you can see her moving closer to the screen, She was really getting into this scene, And as soon as he put his hand up there on the radio, and critter jumped on it, she was like, ah!
And it was like confetti.
There was confetti. Salad went into the ceiling fan, and then to the light fixture, into my drink, across the room, all over the floor, everywhere. The salad was her bowl was empty.
It went everywhere.
Her salad, she emptied her bowl by throwing her bowl up in the air, basically. Salad went everywhere. We had to pause the movie so we can clean the freaking mess up. Because there was lettuce, tomato, onions, cheese. It was everywhere. So she said, I'm sorry. It scared the shit out of her. If you're not used to those kind of jump scares, and if you're not used, you never seen a movie before, it would kind of grab you.
It's like the Piranha movie in Mom.
So, for one of the poems for the paper, I decided to base this poem off of a bayou scene out on the back roads called "The Victim." So as I used the bayou as a bayou, of course, it was just called the bayou because they had a little bayou, they had a little creek that ran through there, and they had several creeks that ran through there, and sometimes it would flood and it would cover the bridge, and when they covered the bridge, you had to make a detour all the way around to get across, or take a chance and hope the fucking bridge is still sitting there when you cross it. Because sometimes these bridges were made of wood. These weren't
steel.
These weren't steel bridges.
They were wood.
These were wooden bridges, and the bridge kind of buckled as you drove across it.
Because it was wood, because it bend.
It would bend. There was no.
It wouldn't break. It was just. It would bounce.
It's like an old wooden bridge, and it had no sides on it. So when they flood, the bayou floods, it covers the bridge. You don't know
where the bridge is,
or if the bridge is still there because it's wooden. And wooden bridges are easily washed away. But a lot of people, we did it once. We came across the bridge. It was flooded, and my uncle said, and I think one of us got out and stepped a little bit, and we felt solid, and so we figured, since it was solid, the bridge must still be there. So we made our way across slowly, and once we figured out the bridge was still there, he just kept the vehicle straight, and we crossed the bridge. Again, these bridges have no sides, and these bridges.
We do not recommend this.
We don't recommend this. And
but they have done it before.
These bridges, they live little waves as you cross them, and you can hear them crickle and crack like they're going to break. And they never break. because he drove tractors and shit across these damn bridges. They had to be sturdy. But yeah, they had bridges like that. So it was kind of interesting to say the least. Of course, it had a lot of skeeters out there, a lot of snakes, a lot of wildlife out there. You don't want to. If you're not a bayou person, I wouldn't recommend living in a bayou. You know, southern Arkansas, Louisiana, Florida, the Everglades. If you're not a bayou person, I wouldn't consider living there, because it's real snaky. A lot of cottonmouths, and these cottonmouths they're all over the place. They're everywhere. So I'll base this next poem off that particular setting for the paper, and this poem is called "The Victim." And it's a short poem. Like I said, it was made for the paper, so I can't have it too long. So I made a little small, short poem. Here's the victim. A slim man stands in the midst of a what? Okay, let me start over. A slim man stands in the midst of a wheat field. He looks ahead to see two machetes in the ground. They form an axe over an evil man's grave. The young man is in a trance as the evil spirit appears, holding the machetes high, yelling in anger. Then the evil man simply fades away. The stunned slim one turns to walk away. But as he leaves, something about him is different. His eyes are now glowing a sinister red. His hands hold the machete, dripping with blood. The spirit of the evil one is now free to roam about. So basically, if you're wondering what happened,
he got
possessed by the evil spirit of the man with the machete man. Now, that was the original name of the poem, the Machete Man. But the editor of the Poets Forum figured the title, "The Victim," would be a more fitting title, since the man was actually possessed by an evil spirit. So that man that was possessed by an evil spirit became the victim of the evil man's presence.
His schemes.
Yeah. So now his body's possessed.
It's like Jason.
That's why the evil man is now free to roam about, because he's inside his victim. There you go. Anyway, as I said, Greg still has some story left in my. Still has some parts left in my story here through poetry, and this is one of them. I had a dream to become a writer, a storyteller, to write poems, write stories and stuff. And his was to play music, and form his own band and play music, and that was our dream, to become famous and rich off of this. Of course, neither one of us really became famous and rich. He did have a band, a local band. It never really took off the ground because, well, I didn't get a chance to get off the ground. And my poems, I've tried several times to find publishers, to find time to sit down and write a book, write stories, and never succeeded in it. Never got rich, never got the big buzz. So I just figured, since YouTube is available now, I will just tell my story verbally on YouTube, through Facebook. My story,
see how that goes.
My story through poetry, and there's not a whole lot watching, not a whole lot listening, not a whole lot following, but the ones that are following, I still, again, I thank you, I appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me to know that there are a few people that are actually following along the story. But it's not getting the big following that I was hoping for, but, at least my story's out. Maybe one day it might take off, maybe one day it won't. But that doesn't matter, but at least I fulfilled one of my goals is to get my story out and get it heard. With it being on the internet, it's going to be heard. So there it is. But This poem is written in honor of mine and Greg's dreams. Storm entitled is called The Storyteller and the Music Maker. And we're going to cover this poem, and that'll end episode 24, and we'll move on ahead to the next episode. The Storyteller and the Music Maker. The storyteller sits in his room, door shut, as silence fills the air. He sits in front of his desk, typewriter ready. His hands are clasped in front of him, concentrating, thinking of something amazing to put down on paper, to create a story that will leave you bewildered. Many miles away, the music maker in his room, amplifier at his feet, guitar draped over his lap, as he strums the strings in rhythm, concentrating on creating a special tune, a tune that will leave you breathless, a tune only he knows and understands. The storyteller, now with his hands on the keys, proceeds to recreate his masterful work. Hearing in the distance a guitar playing, as he pecks the keys in playful rhythm, a pleasant happiness sets in as he smiles. The music maker, playing a joyful song, hears faintly the rapping of a typewriter. He stops for a moment to intensely listen. As he listens, he begins to feel emotional, as a tear runs down the side of his cheek. There seems to be a connection here within the mind and the soul. Thought processes of creation and rhythm. A seeming bond that cannot be broken. It seems together they are one. When you get a friendship that strong, it sometimes you feels like both of you are connected, and you have both become one with each other, and which explains the reason the bond becomes more like a brotherhood instead of just a cousinship or a friendship. And it takes on a stronger, more important meaning to realize that you feed off each other, and you work off each other, and you feel off of each other. You feel emotion. Now, that was the storyteller and the music maker. We're going to cut this episode short because this next one is going to go past our 35-minute mark, because it's a very significant point in my younger years. It's another flashback, but it's a very important flashback. This is going to flash back to the time where I was about 10 years. Let's see here. I think I was about 10 years old. Yeah, I think I was about 10. I'm not going to be too much into it right now, but yeah, I was around 10 years old. And there's something, it's an important event that's going to happen in my life. And I think you'll like the event. I think you'll like what happened. I think you'll be intrigued with it. So like I said, we're going to wrap this episode up and start episode 25. Start episode 25 with The Visit. You'll hear all about The Visit in just a few minutes. So that being said, everybody take care. We'll be back with you in just a couple of seconds. Bye-bye.
Peace.